eat a hamburger? I mean, at some point, probably. What's up, Retzel? Retzel loves pretzels. Retzel loves pretzels, pretzels. Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Did you really eat a hamburger? Retzel loves pretzels. Okay. Alright. Alright. Hey, what's up, Tidbox? I see you today. Trying to adjust the visuals just a little bit here. Did you just come in just now? Because I'm pretty much just working on that track that I was just working on. I don't want to stay here forever tonight. If you just came in, I was just playing something just a second ago that I'm working on tonight. Let me see here. I want to adjust the visuals just a little bit here. What am I looking for here? I think this one. Let's see me a little better there, maybe. Oh, no problem. Well, I'm going to play it again right now. So I mean, if you're sticking around for a minute, you'll hear it. I have a couple different parts already, and I don't think I'm going to do too much different than what I'm already doing. I just kind of have to figure out where to put the different parts, where to put the different parts, and kind of what to do with them. So we've got like this beat coming in here. And then there's this really distorted bass that goes along with it. So I have no idea how we might come in with this or something first. Yeah, we have a combined 909 and 808 kit going on right now. I gotta figure out how to do that drop. That was a terrible drop, but this is the one part, and then we have this other bass part too that we're gonna switch to after a little while. It's stupidly distorted. I love it. Oh yeah, then we have some acoustic percussion to go along with it. What's up, Illuminated? I always like to include like a little acoustic percussion with my dance beats for whatever reason. That's a patch from the Osmos. I love it. The patch is called Insert Coins. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, whoa, whoa, got a lot of effects going on here. I'm in stereo. Thanks so much, Deadbox. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out now, like where to put these different parts in. So I think the singing part goes better. Oh, hold on, does it fit with the? I need to figure out if the vocal part fits with both bass lines, with this drony bass line. I think it doesn't. I think it doesn't fit with this one. It definitely fits with this other one better. That part definitely fits with that bass line better. And with this one, what's going on with this one? So I had this one thing. I don't know if I like it or not, but I was playing. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I think this part works better with this bass. let's figure out a little arrangement and put this thing down before my looper decides to crash like it usually does. Let's see, do I have anything on undo that I want to save? I don't think so. That's nothing on there. This has this thing on it. I don't need that. I can play that back in. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What about on here? Alright, that's fine too. Because what happens is when you save the loop on the looper, there's an undo function for every track. So you can record something and then take it back out and then also redo it, which is really helpful when you're trying to do these live arrangements because, you know, you can take like the harmony out or something like that. You put a harmony line over the top of it and then you can take it out for parts of it, put it back in. But if you save the loop into the looper, then it will just save whatever state it's in and get rid of all the undo data for whatever reason. I don't know why they did it like that. It's kind of stupid, but that's how it is. So you can't undo anything or redo anything after you save. So you have to make sure that you have it how you want it when you save it, because there's no going back. All right, so I think we'll start it off with this clip and doing like a filter. I'm not so good at drops, to be honest. It's something that I need to practice. And it's difficult to do with this setup because I always have to make sure that I'm dropping the filter or the volume on the drum machine and the looper at the same time, and usually on multiple tracks on the looper at the same time. And it's a lot of buttons to try to coordinate and press at one time. And then it's even better if you're trying to do like a filter sweep right before you do it or something like that. But I think we'll fade that in, and then maybe we'll fade in the bass part a little bit. And I think when we we could also fade in the drums filtered as well. That would also work. Hold on a second. so how are we doing this now? So we said we're gonna fade that in. I'm actually thinking. I'm not just doing stuff. I'm actually also thinking while I'm doing this about how to make the arrangement. So I think we're gonna start out with the filtered this thingy, like we said, and filtered drums coming in. Right. How are we gonna drop that? So let's see here. If that's turn that. So I like the different parts, but I'm pretty lost in the arrangement here, to be honest. All right, so what we have so far, as far as the arrangement goes, is what's up, Hayes? We're fading in these drums. I haven't gotten so far with the arrangement so far. We're fading this in with a filter on it. I turned up the volume on that one first, okay? All right, we don't want to make it too complicated. This is I don't want to get bogged down in the thing tonight. I don't want to get bogged down in it. I just want to do a take that's okay and then be fine with it. So let's just try to do that. We're just going to try to run with it right now. Okay, so we have a new track set up on the mixer that we're going to record to. I'm also going to start the recording in OBS here, and we're just going to try to put something down to see what happens. We're going to try to just move through the mistakes and the awkward transitions and just keep going. Okay. In the spirit of January. So let's see here. But we do want to at least get the beginning right. That would be great. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it now? Okay. So just have to remember those parts go together, those parts go together. We're going to fade those in. And other than that, we have this thing that we can do sometime, and then we have the drum thing that we can do sometime. We have to make sure that we mute the mic before we do that, otherwise all you hear is me hitting the drum pads. So we'll just vary between those things a couple times, and then I would like to try to do this middle section. Let me just practice that real quick. How was that? We had something like this going. I don't know Sparks. I don't know Sparks. What it reminds me of, my reference track for this, which it doesn't sound like it at all, it's only the vocal part that reminds me of it, and it didn't remind me of it until after I started singing it. What that reminds me of is, oh Jesus Christ, what's the name of it now? Devil Disco Club. There's a similar vocal part in that famous Devil Disco Club track. It's a cool song. Alright, so we're doing that. We're going to fade into that. Alright, let's try this recording. Here we go. Just real quick before I try the recording, the mix, like when everything's full in, is the mix sounding reasonable, or are the drums or the bass like way too loud compared to the other stuff? Because for me it sounds okay, but I have the drum machine like maxed out, which I usually don't have, so I'm kind of worried that maybe the drums are too loud and I'm just not hearing it. If you have any comments, questions, remarks, complaints, or bitches or gripes, or anything like that of the sort, then now's the time to express yourself. Because once the recording starts, there's no stopping. Speak now or forever hold your Reese's Pieces. Drums could go lower. Alright, that's good to know. Alright, hold up. Let me just fade this in real quick here. Like about there? Is that better on the rim shot? So yeah, sometimes, no, I totally want your opinion, because like my ears just get shot at some point and like I just won't hear the rim shot anymore. The other thing that might be disturbing as far as the drums go is I have these acoustic drums in here too that maybe also might be too loud. Let me just put those in real quick along with the beat. Hold on. So this was out. Could be a bit much, especially with the panning. I don't know. Could re-record that. Or hold on. Oh wait, I can't take that out anymore. Right here. Alright, cool. Thanks so much for that. now we're gonna try it. 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 gonna stop that. We're gonna do another try there, because I hated that drop. I hated that drop. Why? How can I do that differently? How can I do that one differently? Let's see. I can probably just. I'll just blast it up with the volume knob instead of trying to stop it and start it. Okay, so there were some parts of that I thought were pretty good, and other parts that were going on too long. But I mean, that's just going to be the nature of the beast, I think, as far as that goes. So I think that's okay. Let's try it one more again. And I don't want to do too many recordings tonight. I just want to get it done. Get her done. Okay. I mean, clearly not perfect, but I think it's good enough. I think that's good enough. We're gonna say that's the recording for today. That was fun. I just feel so much better when I do these things. Like a couple of the ones, like if you guys were here like 2 nights ago or something, I think it was, when I was doing this thing with this this funky bass line. Um, that was like, hold on. Before I do this, before I start messing with stuff, I always do this. I always finish my jam, and then I immediately change all the settings and erase everything. Oh, Jesus Christ! Sorry about that. I just scared the crap out of myself. I immediately start changing everything, and I don't record what I did. I don't like keep track of what I did at all or what patches I used or anything. It's just stupid. So let me just do this real quick. So let me save this pattern. We'll save it to 211. I think we don't have one there yet. Hopefully not. Didbox, thank you so much for coming by and hanging out. Anyway, like I was just saying, a couple nights ago I was working on this thing where it had like this funky bass line that was like pretty syncopated and like had to be played in very carefully. And it was really, the whole thing was really complicated, so there was just so many places where the recording could go wrong, and I ended up trying it a whole lot of times, and it just doesn't feel good. Like, what feels best to me is if I have like a loose structure, but then I still do like some improvising and stuff like that on top of it, at least, because it just feels so much better to me. And that's like with that one now, I was improvising like some of the vocal lines and stuff like that, and stuff like that, and it just feels so much. I don't know. It's just more fun, and even if it's oh yeah, okay, Didbox, I missed you. I missed that you said that it's time for you to go to bed. So yeah, take care. Thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. It's always great to see you in chat. Always happy to have you here, and I hope you have a nice evening. And I'll see you around. Right. So. Let me see here. What do I need to record here? Maybe I'll just say what I'm doing here, because then I can go back and watch the VOD and then I don't have to write everything down. So on the Osmos, we're using the patch insert coins. On the TR8S, we're using the kit that's called 909 and 808, and we're using pattern 211. On the base station, we're using patch 4, and we've manipulated it quite a bit so that it sounds really nasty, like incredibly nasty. Look at that bass patch, it's so stupid. That's just ugly. You love it. You know what? I've been, since doing the January stuff, I've been messing around with the Ruckus. That sounds amazing. That would be like a godsend for my setup. Like if I could just send like one MIDI, like one MIDI signal out that just sets all my hardware stuff to the right settings for a certain song, that would be crazy. I've been using the base station. I mean, I use the base station 2 a lot anyway, but I've been actually like programming some patches for it and stuff like that, more so than usual, doing these streams. And man, it's such a good synth. I really like it a lot. Really, really like it. Let me see if I can get a visual effect where you can actually kind of see me a little bit better. There we go. We can switch to that for now. That's a cool. That actually looks good in this with this setup. I'll have to remember that one. Okay, so we have the Osmos, we have the TR8S. What are we using on the Prophet, we're using patch 434, and we're arpeggiating it with the key step 37. And we at some point had also like some e-piano sounds, but we didn't end up putting that in the recording. And what else do we have to note? What else is of note? Oh yeah, the Nord drum. Let's see here. What we're using C8 on the Nord drum, and we adjusted the pitch of the pads so that they fit. And we're working with these pitches. Yeah, I know I could do all that. I know. But you know, if it's already too much work for me just to note what what patches I was using for something, you think I'm gonna write like my own JavaScript or something? I'm sure I could also do it with like I think I could even do it with StreamerBot if I really wanted to. Yeah, I don't know. That's all beyond me for now. I'm taking one step at a time. I'm learning a lot about my equipment right now, with this new setup and with playing every day. The new mixer and the key step is also new, and which also means that I haven't done any sequencing of like the Prophet before, which I'm doing now with the key step sometimes and stuff like that. So I'm really learning a lot about my gear right now. I still need to change some stuff with the setup. Like right now, I'm running all the MIDI is coming out of the 505. That's like the master, and everything else is just chained up to it. But I think I have a MIDI splitter, and I'm gonna try out some different setups. I might try to have the TR-8S as being the master instead. Yeah, I'm not sure yet, but yeah. So it's a journey. It's a journey. Yeah, some of the ones. So I purposefully, with exception of the Osmos, I've purposefully picked out synths that are not overly complicated. You know, like I mean, the bass station is a monosynth a paraphonic monosynth, but it's very clearly laid out, right? You know, it just has very clear controls, and it's very easy to get into. The Prophet is just, you know, classic subtractive synthesis, and it's knob per value. It's, you know, what you see is what you get. The Osmos is the one so far that I literally have not even opened the software to try to create your own patch or anything, because it just looks crazy. And apparently they're working on an update where it will be a lot easier to hopefully program patches with it, because it used the Harken system, and yeah, you can do some pretty amazing stuff with that apparently, but yeah, it's not easy to program. Needed one hub with 4 outs and 2 ins. Pretty simple setup, yeah. I just picked up just like a really simple, it's a 1 in, 5 out MIDI hub, and then I figured out that it's powered by USB-C, and they give you a cable that's like this long for it, so I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do with that. So I need to get a cable for it so that I can actually hook it up. But yeah, the idea that I want to try out is have the master come out of the TR-8S and then split it off into all the different stuff here. And the key step can control, you know, 2 different two different keyboards. So I have it hooked up to the Prophet and the base station. And one cool feature that I haven't really used yet is you can sequence one of the synths and still play live on the other one on here, which is pretty cool. I mean, wouldn't necessarily need to do that because I could just play it live on the actual keyboard itself because I don't have a desktop module of anything. But it's a cool feature. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the 505 is the clock for now, but I'm getting some like if I just watch the readout on the key step of the BPM, it's constantly fluctuating. So the looper is set at 130 right now, and it's literally you guys can't see it. I don't think even if I move this, no, you can't. Definitely not. Although, so you can see this blinking light here, and right next to it. Wait, this way, there's another light, and you can see it move like back and forth a little bit every once in a while, and that's actually the value changing between 129 and 130. It's just constantly moving back and forth, and I don't know if that's because the base station, because 505 isn't giving out a constant, like a reliably consistent MIDI signal, or right now I have it set up to where it's running from the 505 into the TR8S and then from the TR8S into the key step, and so maybe that's the problem along the way there. I don't know what that is, but it's like just constantly fluctuating between 129 and 130, and it does that all the time. And also there's also some wonkiness going on with the bass station, like if I in certain settings, the arpeggiator mode will just like constantly change back and forth, and I think that must also be because of the MIDI. I don't know any other reason. I haven't tested it yet. I could just pull the plug and see, but I can't think of any other reason why that would be the case. So there's some wonkiness going on with the MIDI stuff so far. Another weird thing. Well, so on the 505, it's 130.0. I mean, it gives you one decimal point. And right now it's set to 130.0. I mean, I guess it's possible that there, further down the line of the decimal points that there's something there. But ostensibly, it should be exactly 130. So I don't know what the deal is with that. What was I going to say? Another weird thing was... okay. All right. So maybe the key step just has a more fine-grained clock than the 505 does. I mean, so far it hasn't led to any problems anyway, because it's close enough for government work. Another weird thing was when I had the key step originally, I didn't have it on. I was powering it via USB, but when I was powering it via USB, the pitch and mod wheels, or strips rather, they just didn't work most of the time. They just didn't do anything most of the time for whatever reason. And as soon as I got an adapter for it and plugged it into the wall, it worked completely fine. So, who knows? What time is it? Oh, it's already 3:30. All right. Well, I guess I can probably end the stream, huh? Let's look for a raid target, and I'll throw you guys over to a video of yesterday's jam while I do so. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out. Super cool to have you guys here and to talk shop with you guys. Oh, here's another thing. While we're talking, maybe you guys have an idea about this. So I have my new mixer. I have a Tascam 2400 that I'm using as my audio interface. And so far, my levels in OBS that I'm getting out of the Tascam are very low. So like right now I have 4 dB plus on the track that's coming into OBS from the mixer, which usually I didn't have to do when I was using the 505 as my interface. And when I look at the meters on the Tascam itself, I'm going to turn the music back on quite loud, so be careful if you have pumped up the volume, because I'm talking now and it's a little quiet. So let me just go back to what we were just doing a minute ago, and try to get the levels that we had there. All right, we're just going to drop it in right away, so don't get shocked. Let's see here, which one were we on? Let's do this one. Okay. All right, so when I'm looking at the meters on the mixer, hey Retzel, you still there? What's up? When I'm looking at the meters on the mixer, and this is an analog mixer, so that makes a difference as well. We're hitting like 6, like above unity, above 0. We're hitting like 6, somewhere between 6 and 10 plus. But when I'm going into, if I'm looking at what's coming into OBS, I'm going to play it again now because I didn't look at that before. We're hitting like -5 in OBS, even though I have 4 dB of gain, or I don't know if that's considered gain at that point, on the track that's coming into OBS. Additionally, because if I don't have that on there, then it's even quieter. And as we all know, OBS is also very very conservative. So even if you're hitting 0 in OBS, you don't really have a problem yet. So my question is, why is it so low? My setup before, I was pretty much hitting 0 in OBS, and I like that level, because I notice when I go back and watch my VODs that my levels are definitely lower than like other streams that I like to watch. So I don't like that when I go to other streams and their levels are so low that I have to turn up my system a lot. And right now I feel like that's what's happening here. So I don't know. I can't figure it out. And I also don't know, like, am I gonna run into any problems? What I could just do is just up the dBs in OBS more. I could just jack that up even higher, but I don't know what kind of gain that's introducing, and like if it makes sense to introduce gain at that part of the signal chain, or no. I'm using the Tascam as my audio interface. So the routing right now is all the instruments go into the mixer. The mixer goes into the 505, then the 505 goes back into the mixer, and then using some sub-outs and subgroups and stuff like that, then we bring it all together and throw it into the main out, and the computer gets the main out from... the reason that I didn't want the RC505 to be the out is, first of all, because the way that I have it set up right now gives me a lot more flexibility as far as my routing options go. I would have to think about if I could get the same flexibility with making the RC505 the interface. And the other reason that I didn't want to do it is that my 505 crashes all the damn time. If you've been here at all over the last days, you'll have seen that today's stream was like the first day that it didn't crash on stream, like in, I think, over a week now. And I thought originally when I was setting up this setup that one benefit of this new setup would be that maybe it would crash less, because I thought maybe the USB connection was part of what was bothering it. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. But not having it be the audio interface does have a decidedly big benefit as far as the crashing goes, because when it does crash, when the 505 is the main hub, I have to I have the MK2. I have to reset the 505 and just hope that the computer picks up the signal again. And a lot of times it didn't. I mean, I've had streams where I literally had to restart my computer to get it to recognize the 505. No, I have all the firmware updates. I've been in contact with support and everything. They want me to send it in. But like other people's reports of sending in their loopers when it has this problem are basically like they wait, months and get it back, and then it does the same exact thing. So I'm pretty skeptical of sending it in. Yeah, if they bring out an MK3, I'll probably just get it, just in the hopes that it won't crash on me. But if it keeps happening, eventually I guess I'll replace this one. Yeah, that's probably the problem, Ruckus. I'm also surprised, like the looper tells me all the damn time when I'm trying to do something, looper too busy. And I'm not even, when I haven't even done much yet, and it's like, looper's too busy. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you, you smoking a cigarette behind in the background or whatever? Yeah, that'd be great. If the MK3 literally just took out the crashing, I'd be all for it. And just, take my money. So does anybody know if I just jack up the volume more in OBS, am I going to run into, issues there? I mean, I have a limiter on the main signal in OBS anyway, at I think minus half a dB or something like that. That includes the looping. That's right. The loop station sans looping. So I mean, my options would be I could jack up the volume on the mixer more. I don't have my main out all the way up. I could just increase that. But I worry about introducing distortion or something like that into the signal chain somewhere, and I'm just not familiar with proper gain staging and stuff like that enough to know that. Let me just maybe I should just experiment with that a little bit here before I stop the stream. So I'm gonna play that we just played, and I'm just gonna slowly increase the main out on my mixer itself. So the overall volume of the stream should get higher. So be careful if you're on headphones or whatever. I just want to see if you guys could tell me if you notice any distortion, artifacting, anything like that. That'd be great. So let's see here. Let's go back to what we were just doing. The drums were about there, I think. Still have ears. So now, I'm up to I'm up to close. I'm close to maxing the fader on my main out in the mixer, and now and that's still with the 4 dB increase in OBS. I was just about hitting 0 on the loud parts there. So yeah, I don't know, but if it sounded fine, then I guess I could just roll with that and just try to figure it out later why. I mean, I also wouldn't rule out that my gain staging is maybe just not perfect anyway. That's maybe just the issue. I don't know. Whatever. Alright, well, that's good. Thank you so much for helping me out with that stuff. That's great. It's always great to have some people who know their stuff, or at least can, listen and help me suss out the details. Thanks, Hayes. Thanks, Ruckus. Alright, I will now send you guys to the recording of yesterday's stream and pick out a raid target, and then, yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's put this up. Yesterday we did a little tribute stream to David Lynch, and got pretty noisy. Let's see, let's do this. Somebody in the chat described this as sleep paralysis demons. Like this is the music that sleep paralysis demons like to dance to at the rave or something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's a nice praise. All right, let's go check that out. R.I.P. David Lynch. This just in, we're leaving the stream immediately because we need to go over to Civic TV 83 right now because they're having a battle of the AI bands, and right now they're playing a music video about John Lennon being beaten to death by Paul McCartney. Okay, bye.